Hey guys, Malika Semper here from Malika Semper Astrology, Fireplace Astrology. So let's look at the month of May. I'm looking at the chart here. We have two full moons this month. The second full moon is always called a blue moon if there's two full moons a month. We start the month out with still a lot of Aries energy, huge Aries influence in the sky for the first 3 weeks of May. We have Mars still in Aries, Saturn and Neptune still in Aries. However, we are entering into this more Taurus energy because the sun is in Taurus this whole time. And so when we have a lot of Aries and a lot of Taurus at the same time in the heavens, it's like 1 foot on the gas, 1 foot on the brake. So that's really what this month of May can feel like, 1 foot on the gas, 1 foot on the brake, right? Let's look at the first week of May. We start right off the bat with a full moon. May 1st, there's a huge full moon at 11 degrees of Scorpio. So this is going to be exact at 10:23 a.m. Pacific. That's an intense full moon. The whole sky, the whole heavens are being lit up with scorpionic energy. And so what this can feel like is this intense desire and need and drive to go so deeply into the inner world. This is a very special full moon because there's something very special happening with this full moon. There is what's called a yod, Y-O-D, and that's a fancy astrological term. It sort of looks like there's an arrow pointing at this particular full moon, and this yod pointing at this full moon means that this full moon can come in with these heightened lessons, these divine purposes when we turn towards Scorpio energy. When we really open up and absorb this full moon in Scorpio, when we open up our ears and our hearts to the lessons of Scorpio, the wisdom of Scorpio, and really, really take it in. You know, this yod pointing at it says, when we do this work, there is something here that can feel fated or karmic or extremely divinely purposeful with doing the work of this particular full moon. So let me describe Scorpio full moon. There's an intensity, there's an increase in the volume of emotions. We can feel things much more extreme during a full moon in Scorpio, but we want to. We don't want to do anything superficial. We don't want to do anything surfacey. We want to drop into meaningful, soulful, spiritual energy within ourselves. And if we are partaking in gatherings or if we're hanging out with other people during this full moon, those connections need to mean something and stir our soul. We need to have those soulful connections. We don't want to do small talk during this particular full moon. Now, you know, things can surface when there's a strong Scorpio in the sky. Things that have been hidden, secrets that have been tucked away, things that we haven't shared with anyone, or things that have been kept from us could certainly come to the surface during a full moon in Scorpio. So looking at those things and also bringing a lot of light to the dark. And what I mean by that is, you know, this darker human experience. A lot of us hold grief or loss or addictions, shadow work, abuses that, you know, have happened to us, and to bring light to those pieces of ourselves that need that attention, to turn towards the metaphorical boogeyman and really look him in the eye and do some healing work during this particular full moon is going to feel really, really fulfilling. Now, Scorpios, because it is in Scorpio, right? Those born between November 2nd and November 6th are going to feel this the very most. This is also a pretty flowing vibe for the Pisces and the Cancers of the world. Where it might get challenging is for Leos and Aquariuses with this full moon in Scorpio, especially Leo born between August 1st and 6th. It might feel a little bit tense. You know, Leo's ruled by the sun and Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. So we have this bright Leo energy under this heavy Scorpio sky, which is the dark, which is like turn off the sun, turn off the lights, draw the blinds. So for Leos, it could feel a little bit tense. And for Aquarius too, especially Aquarius born between January 29th and February 2nd. And the point is we are learning from our Scorpio friends. We're learning from this deep, intense, passionate, meaningful Scorpio energy, and we're learning the wisdom. With the full moon in Scorpio, we want to get quiet. That really is about coming back into introspection and reflection and the self, and find the wisdom that could be found in stillness, that could be found in deep prayer and meditation and thoughtfulness. The wisdom that can be found when we stop talking and tune into the quiet. We don't always have to have the lights on to see everything. In fact, when we close our eyes and we tune inward and the dark landscape comes in behind our eyelids, that's where we find a lot of our answers. So that's what this full moon in Scorpio is asking of you, especially because there's a yod pointing right at it that says this moon is so damn meaningful if you allow it to teach you its lessons. If you zip up, stop talking, and allow it to teach you its lessons. Now, the other thing coming in this week, May 2nd, the very next day, Mercury enters Taurus. And so the way we communicate, our communication style, and the way we take in information, the way we give out information, all conversations start to fall into this Taurus sort of energy. Mercury will be in Taurus until May 17th. He's going to move into Taurus at 7:57 p.m. this day. And so for the next 2.5, almost 3 weeks, we are going to desire and have a stronger ability to drop into deliberate conversation, grounded conversation. We don't want to be rushed intellectually. When we receive information, we want to chew on it a little bit and ponder it a little bit, and then take some time to digest it a little bit here. It's methodical decision making. It is weighing the pros and cons and then going with what instinctually feels best to us. It does bring in a very logical way of thinking, a very practical perspective on things. You know, we want to make these solid foundational decisions for ourselves right now that are going to lean into and build our sense of safety, our sense of security. And so making those decisions from that sense of, is this going to be good for me, and solidify the foundations that I'm standing on. Mercury and Taurus, everything slows down. We are not interested in the multitasking, the busyness of life. We're not having multiple conversations at once. No, this is deliberate, one-on-one communication happening here when Mercury is in Taurus. Some people love this, you know, because things really slow down, and then there could be this sense of stillness within intellectual energies or mental connections. We want to talk about the sweetness of life, the slowing down. Finances and money can be on our mind as well. It does bring in a lot of patience within communication and conversations. We're not going to react verbally. We're not going to react impulsively. We're not going to be very reactionary at all when Mercury is in Taurus, because we have the ability and the power to just sort of pause and think about something. And we need to pause and think about it when Mercury is in Taurus. We're not as witty. We're not as quick to come back with mental fire, because it's earth, it's slowing down, it's grounded. So really practical conversations, deliberate conversations. We can be very persistent as well. We can be a little bit more stubborn when Mercury is in Taurus. We have a harder time seeing other people's point of view. We can really stick to our guns in the way of like our own opinions. It's a fixed sign. It's a fixed energy. Our own opinions, our own thoughts, our own perspective on things, and we're not willing to budge from it. So that would be part of the work that can come in, you know, to be open to other people's opinions and hear what they have to say with Mercury and Taurus. But definitely a mental and intellectual slowing down in these first 3 weeks of May. Okay, you guys, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with next week's.